Well, good morning, everyone. I hope that you got some good rest last night. This morning we're in Mark chapter number 3. And Jesus is going to give a very clear message on priority. And I want to make sure that I'm clear that Jesus is not denouncing priority of family, but he's putting our priorities in perspective. Jesus is in the middle of a teaching, and his family comes and requests that he come out, and he gave the lesson in that setting on priority. In fact, verse number 31, he says, "And then came his brethren and his mother, and standing without, sent unto him, calling him. And the multitude sat about him, and said unto him, Behold, thy mother and thy brethren without seek for thee." And so, knowing that Jesus is in a lesson time, he's teaching his followers a lesson, and so he takes opportunity to share this lesson with us. And as I said, he's not saying that his family isn't valuable to him, but he's putting them in priority, especially in the circumstances that he has said, this is the time that's going to be for me to teach and to train and to teach valuable lessons about church and church family. And so he took that opportunity. Look what he says in verse number 33. And he answered them, saying, Who is my mother and my brethren? And he looked round about on them which sat about him, and said, Behold, my mother and my brethren. And I'm assuming that he does some sort of a gesture, and he says, here's my family. And then he's going to define what he means by that, because not everybody seated there listening to him actually was a part of that family that he was talking about. Verse number 35, he says, For whosoever shall do the will of God, the same is my brother and my sister and my mother. And so he basically says there's a priority, and it's called the kingdom of God. After Jesus ascends, we get this new institution called the church, where it's basically the family of God and the kingdom of God, and Jesus is putting it in perspective for us that we need to prioritize very specific times that are not about our earthly family. They're about our church family, the worship of the Lord and the work of the Lord. And I think that we live in a time where, because there's convenience in digital media, because there's a lot of things to do, we assume that everything that has to do with family is our priority. And in some instances, that's very true. Of course, we need to prioritize our family. The Bible tells us that he who doesn't take care of his family is worse than the person who doesn't follow God at all. And so we need to have a priority here, because I think that most of us will jettison the church for family all the time, or save church time as family time away from the church, because we've filled all the other time with other things. And so what Jesus is saying is, put in your ministry, your worship, your love for the Lord, your church family in, and it will give you the fuel you need and the resources you need, spiritually speaking, to actually be with your family in a way that matters. And so he's saying, me first. Put me in your life first. In Matthew 6, we find that seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, right? And then all these things will be added unto you. Most people add all the other things, and if righteousness and the kingdom of God fits, then we do that. Well, he's saying a similar thing here in this. He doesn't say disregard your family. He says, stop allowing your family to interfere with what's number one priority. And our families are oftentimes the excuse we use to not worship the Lord and to not have a time that we have devoted to the Lord. And so I want to encourage you with that this morning. We're heading into the weekend, and you probably set your priorities for the weekend. Well, I want you to revisit that this morning and say, do I have a place and a time that is about the kingdom of God, his work, his ministry, my family? And then after that, what can I do with my earthly family? And so I want to encourage you with that this morning. I know it'll help you have even a better weekend than you may already have planned. And so let that sink in this morning. Have a great day.